Hey, welcome back to the Victors Podcast, and on this episode, I welcome on Zach, my cousin, a longtime Michigan fan and Michigan enthusiast. Today, I have some questions prepared for him, and it's basically going to be a discussion on the state of the program and basically just college football and everything surrounding it. So let's get into it. Number one, what are your thoughts on Jim Harbaugh, and would they change if Michigan beats Ohio State this year?
Well, I think my thoughts on Harbaugh are a little bit different than a lot of people's right now. I think he is, above average coach compared to a lot of the coaches in Division I. What I think his problem is he's still got a small say in the offense, which is a lot of the runs on 2nd and 10, 2nd and 9.
Yeah.
I feel like Gaddis probably wants to open it up a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, with recruiting and coaching, I mean, his resume is excellent through this year's. Just Ohio State's really the only thing standing in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
But Don Brown has got to go. He's got to make changes there.
Yeah.
So we'll see what he does, and then.
Yeah, and
I do like him. I do like him as a head coach.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the only problem for me is when you're basing it on this year, I think this year's basically a fraud of a year. Like, look at what's happening with Penn State and Franklin, and like in any other year, Penn State would not start off 0-5. Let's be frank. With the injuries they have, with the opt-outs, their offensive line troubles, their defensive line troubles, their secondary, and their QB problems, it's a lot of the same problems that Michigan's having, and I think this is just a crazy year. So if you want to base what you think on Harbaugh about after any other year besides this year, I'm fine with that. But right now, I think 2021 is going to be the real deciding factor, and basically that's how it's going to be for like Ward Manuel and basically Jim to see if he wants to stay on the staff after 2021. So.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Completely with that.
Number two, with a fantastic performance by Cade McNamara, do you think Michigan can beat Ohio State if our offense continues to get better?
No, not this year.
Huh.
I don't think we can make that jump to beat Ohio State unless, I mean, there's always a chance that we beat them, just like Michigan State has beat us in the past when we really should have beat them.
Yep.
And just how we've upset other teams, in the past. But this year, I think Justin Fields is on a whole new level.
Mm-hmm.
That receiving core defense is just, I mean, they're just head and shoulders better than Michigan. And I think maybe if Michigan's, like Nico Collins didn't go to the draft early or declare to go, Ambry Thomas is sitting out.
Yeah, I totally agree.
It's a little bit better of a chance, but.
And I wasn't really going to put this into the podcast, and it's kind of a foolish question, but after what I saw Indiana did against Ohio State's secondary, especially the corners, it really showed me a lot of what Michigan's been struggling through, like cornerback-wise, because their defensive line is amazing. Ohio State's defensive line is amazing, but I think if Cade can get the ball off quick to, like, say, Giles Jackson, Cornelius Johnson, or Mike Sanderstill, I think we can beat Shaun Wade, because their corner position took a huge hit in the latest draft, and their safety and corner position. So that's why I only put this in here, because I think it's really going to come down to, can Michigan trade blows with Ohio State, since both our defenses aren't going to be performing at what they should be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see that. And Cade is a really good fit to beat a team like Ohio State. Just watching him in the second half against Rutgers.
Yeah.
His arm angles on some of his throws, it reminds me kind of like Stafford, but not to the extent of
I know exactly what you mean. And
but he's throwing some sidearm quick slants and just deep balls, so
his reads are phenomenal. And I saw this thing, he was talking to a reporter, and basically the reason he's been looking so sharp is all week he goes through his mind everything he needs to do on first down, second down, third down, what reads he needs to make, and he has these planned out scenarios of who he's going to throw to in these scenarios. And basically, I don't think Joe Millen has ever done that or has ever like acted like that. You know what I mean? I don't think he ever has like these premonitions in his mind of what he's going to do on these types of downs, what reads he's going to make. I think he's just kind of like in-game guy, like, oh, I'll see who I'm going to throw to, but he doesn't really have that QB mindset. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree, because I think playing Cade really opens up the playbook.
Yeah.
I mean, they're running RPOs his second possession in the game. I don't think I've seen Millen run an RPO yet. At least make a good read on an RPO.
Yeah, and when they do,
like a lot of
when they do run them, he runs up the middle on like a 2nd and 15.
Exactly. Yeah, they're not gaining anything with his reads that he's been making.
Number 3, do you think Don Brown will still be on the coaching staff in 2021?
No. I don't think there's any way with the feedback from the media and just the players don't even really seem like they're interested in it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think they need a whole new system in there.
Yeah.
We don't have the talent that we've had in the past at corner. We just don't have that defense that he runs, the hard press man, just one-on-one coverage. You need a really good pass rush, and you need really good corners.
Yep.
The corners we've had in the past have been so good.
Mm-hmm.
Jennings Tribbley and Jordan Lewis, Lavert Hill, David Long. And now we just, without having NFL corners on both sides, it makes that defense almost impossible to be efficient.
And the biggest problem I have is it seems like that was his only plan, and that's been his only plan his entire career, and now that they've taken it away, he has nothing to fall back on. And I've really got on him for not implementing him a lot more zone like he did last year against Iowa and Notre Dame. But then I was proven wrong. He did go back to the zone, and it was so much worse than the man coverage he was playing. Guys just didn't know how to run it. There were 3 guys just grouped together. Daxton Hill looked so much worse in zone, like he didn't know what he was doing. And basically it really showed me that he doesn't have a backup plan.
Yeah, I agree. That zone that he was running seemed more like a prevent, which doesn't really make sense. I mean, I think zone could work, but you can tell they've never really practiced it, and that's just not his forte.
Mm-hmm. Because
I wish you would implement a little man zone type of thing.
Oh,
I mean, our corners can't compete on the outside one-on-one.
Yep.
But just like a cover one to shade G-Mon on the outside or Vincent Gray.
Yep.
At least would take away a wide receiver in the side of the field.
And
then the rest could still be the man.
Yeah, and him not going to zone for the beginning of the season, especially after Minnesota when we kept just getting destroyed by Michigan State and Indiana on those long balls and deep throws, I was really confused because last year against Notre Dame and Iowa, our 2 best defensive games, we played a lot of cover 2 and a lot of cover 6, and we just bracketed them down, and they couldn't do anything on offense. And that being said, the Notre Dame game was pretty rainy, but still, they couldn't do anything on offense, and I was so confused why we wouldn't just go back to that system, because obviously our man approach wasn't working.
Yeah, I agree. We needed to switch something up. And I think the problem is he's not really coaching them on how to play a ball. Their speed and size is there on every pass.
Yep.
But they're just not getting any, pass breakups.
Oh, yeah.
And they're getting a lot of holding calls and DPIs.
Mm-hmm.
Vincent Gray's got, he's 6'2", I think. He's tall. He's quick. I mean, he's always with the receiver. He doesn't play the ball very well, which I think he needs to coach that.
He's tall. He's got lanky arms. He's skinny. He's fast. And the biggest problem was I was watching the Michigan State-Indiana game. The dude just didn't look like he knew the fundamentals. He wouldn't look back to the ball ever. And when he did, there was an exact play where he would stop running to look back to the ball. The only time I've ever seen him look back to the ball, he literally stopped running dead in his tracks, and then the guy just had a 40-yard gain. And it was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And
his techniques just aren't great, but he's got the natural athletic ability and size.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. And he showed us bits of that last year, but now it's just he couldn't really step up. And it's kind of it's one thing to have a scheme that doesn't work, but at least have your players be able to play the scheme right. If your scheme doesn't work that well and you have nothing else to fall on, at least teach your players the fundamentals and make sure they know it when they're in game.
Oh, yeah. I completely agree with that.
Mm-hmm. And going on to question number 4, with the offensive line in the second year, most of our running backs returning receivers, Daxton Hill in his 3rd year, Aiden Hutchinson most likely staying for a year since he got injured, older DBs, and J.J. McCarthy or Cade McNamara at QB, along with Jim in a winner-take-all season, do you think Michigan can finally win a Big Ten championship in 2021?
Yeah, I do. I think next year would be their best year. I think the biggest reason isn't because they're going to be better than they've been, but I think Ohio State's going to take a step back.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Indiana's going to be as good.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't look like Penn State or Michigan State are really going to compete in the East next year.
Yep.
And I think their best chance, I think next year will be their best chance. Part of it depends on who they play from the Big Ten West.
Mm-hmm.
If they get stuck with Wisconsin and Minnesota or Northwestern next year, it might be a lot harder.
Yeah.
But with a favorable schedule and Ohio State taking a big decline, in my opinion, I think next year could be the year.
Mm-hmm. And let's not forget, this team is really young. we already had a brand new offensive line, plus we have 3 injuries on the offensive line. And the defensive line, a lot of young guys are getting reps that they wouldn't have otherwise. Like, there's walk-ons getting reps on the defense. And that just says a lot about this defense right now, how young it is. And look at how much it's growing. We finally got some sacks in this Rutgers game. We're finally getting to the QB. Our defensive line is finally taking shape with Jess Spate. And I really think our defense can be something special next year if we get rid of Dob Brown. And basically, our offense can grow under Cade or JJ.
I agree. Yeah, I think the defense, no Kwity Paye, no Aiden Hutchinson.
Yep.
That's 2 of the best players on the entire defense, and they're built out.
And with the new COVID rules, it's like they say you can stay for another year. Basically, this year doesn't count. And since Aiden got injured so early in the season and he hasn't really put up any numbers, he's probably going to return. Like, I don't really think he's going to leave for the draft since he has no film, basically.
Yeah, we'll see. He's got an insane NFL body with the size and that he has.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he'll go to pro days and talk to scouts and see.
Yeah. But it's also like a money thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah. If they say he can go in the top 3 rounds or top 4 rounds, I'm sure he'll declare. Mm-hmm. But if they're saying 5th or 6th round, he'll definitely come back.
Yeah. And
I think show what he's got.
Kwity Paye, I don't know if he will stay for another year. I don't know how high he was supposed to go in the draft. I think he was supposed to be as high as like a number first draft round pick. But overall, I don't know if he's going to come back. I think he's like, a 4th or 5th year senior, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think Kwity Paye will be back next year.
Yeah. I'm hoping he can come back, though, for this Penn State game, because his injury didn't look too bad. It looked like a mild injury, so I was surprised to see him out versus Rutgers.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, he might be sitting out too the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Because Michigan really doesn't have much to play for besides just pride and hopefully beating Ohio State.
Yeah.
So.
All right, number 5. What do you think is more likely to happen? Michigan beats Penn State, loses to Maryland, and beats Ohio State, or Michigan loses the next 3 games altogether?
I think the most likely, after watching Cade and just knowing that the improvements that hopefully come, I think they beat Penn State pretty easily. Mm-hmm. I think they beat Maryland. And then, I don't know, I think they'll put up points against Ohio State, depending on how their offense runs. But Ohio State's such a big, they'll make one big play and completely turn the game around.
Oh, yeah. We saw it in 2019.
I haven't seen that out of Michigan yet this year.
Mm-hmm.
Giles Jackson's kick return was a huge turning point.
Yep.
But Ohio State always seems to get a pick 6 or a fumble recovery for a touchdown. Mm-hmm. Almost every close game that just really breaks it open.
Yeah, look at the Indiana game.
Yeah, Sean Wade's
and
pick 6.
Honestly, that wasn't even a great interception. It was just so telegraphed by Penix that he just knew it was coming. He just waltzed right into the end zone. But I know what you're saying. It's like...
But I think we put up a lot of points against Ohio State. I don't think offense will be the problem this year, just like it hasn't really been the past few years. But I just don't know if the defense will be able to hold up.
Mm-hmm. So, going on to number 6, if Cade keeps playing the way he does and beats Ohio State, do you think do you even start J.J. McCarthy in 2021, or do you just keep playing Cade?
I would keep playing Cade only because if you look at all the great quarterbacks the past few years and this year in college football, Trevor Lawrence is the only one that started as a true freshman and really excelled.
Yeah.
Justin Fields sat behind quarterback Jake Fromm at Georgia for a year before transferring. Mac Jones, one of the best quarterbacks this year. Granted, he's got the best wide receiver core in the college, but he sat behind Tua, Jalen Hurts, and Joe Burrow. Sat 4 years until he showed how good he could be. So I think it's important that they learn from an experienced quarterback. Yeah. Because it's a whole different game from high school, so they can't just step back and just be better than everyone on the field. They got to know how to read every coverage, every pack, blitz package the other team will send. So I think it'll be good if he sits a year, and then his sophomore year he can really take over.
And I don't really want to make just foregone conclusions about Cade, but his preparation, his leadership qualities, his play, his reads, his accuracy and touch, everything that we haven't seen from Joe, this guy has shown, and he's just looked so good doing it. And people try to make the association between him and John O'Corn when John O'Corn got his first start in 2017 and looked good. But John O'Corn is showing barely anything of what Cade has done, and it's really just two different guys and two different teams altogether. And I really don't think he's going to fall off against Penn State, Maryland, or Ohio State. I think he's going to keep playing the way he does. And if we have a major fault to this team, it's going to be the defense or the offensive line.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, not JJ McCarthy, Cade McNamara is getting recruited by almost every college in high school.
Mm-hmm.
John O'Corn, I'm not sure about his recruitment, but I can't imagine that he was getting looked at by all these SEC, ACC schools.
Oh, no way.
I mean, Cade was getting looked at from every school, and he chose Michigan. So I think that shows, he wants to play for Michigan. He wants to play.
And he was the number one Alabama QB recruit, too.
Yeah, so, he's got talent. And all the coaches knew that, which is why they're recruiting him so hard.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the difference between him and O'Corn, and even, Brandon Peters, is I think he's just better than what they were.
So much more
even
talented.
They showed glimpses
of
being good. He just seemed like everything was on point.
And he seems like a more stable QB. Like I told you about his preparation before in the video of what he said and what he does to prepare. And he just seems like he's so more into it, and he just wants to win way more than those other guys. And I don't want to call them out or anything like that, but it just seems like his preparation is so much more important to him than past QBs that we've had.
Yeah, I've seen that article that you were talking about,
mm-hmm.
and I agree because Joe Millen after the Michigan State game said something about not really realizing what Antoine Simmons, Michigan State's linebacker,
and that's really weird to me.
How big of a threat he could be, but I think, Cade would have watched him on film
mm-hmm.
and known, he's legit, and I think Cade definitely will prep a lot better,
mm-hmm.
and hopefully it turns out for him.
And at first I thought he was just being cocky and just being full of crap, but then I kept watching it, and he actually just seemed to not know who Antoine Simmons was, which is really weird to me because every starting QB in college football in the NFL know who the other team's middle linebacker is. The middle linebacker is so important on the defense. You have to know where he is and who he is. And he truly didn't seem to know who he was or what his name was. So that's just really bad preparation on his part and the coaching staff.
Yeah, but a lot of that falls on the coaching staff.
Mm-hmm.
But he's got to take that upon himself to know. All right, playing an in-state rival, they're coming out to play.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure Cade was ready for that game. I'm sure he was watching film.
Yeah.
All week. He knew it was coming, but he didn't get the chance.
Yeah. And honestly, if Cade starts that game, I think we win that game. In all honesty.
Yeah, I agree.
And hindsight is 20/20, but the coaching staff has been seeing these two guys play for months. It's not he just now shows what he can do. When Michigan was told that they weren't going to have a season, Michigan was one of the few Big Ten teams that just continued to practice. So it's not we only saw them for a few weeks up to the season. No, they've been seeing this since spring camp and fall camp.
Yeah, I'm not sure really what their thought behind Joe was. He's got more potential because of his athleticism and size, which you can't teach, but he has no touch on 95% of his throws. He can't read a defense.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel his size just doesn't make up for that.
And I think it's really immature for them just to start him. If that's truly why they started him is because, he's got a strong arm and he's tall, I think that shows how immature this Michigan coaching staff is and how ridiculous they are just to go off size and arm strength. Because at the end of the day, even when he does throw those long balls, it's 15 yards ahead of his receivers because he doesn't have any touch and he just can't tell where they are.
Yeah, he wasn't an accurate thrower in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And, he throws it hard, he throws it far, but if you're not accurate in high school, I don't think, starting at Division I program like Michigan is really...
If anything, your high school stats should be boosted. Your high school stats should be through the roof because you're just destroying all the other competition. He had a 47% completion rate, and that should be 63 at least. It should be, if anything, boosted when you're in high school and then drop when you're in college.
Exactly. I'm not sure what he showed in practice because it's hard to tell. No one was there, but
mm-hmm.
I can't imagine it was that much better compared to what I saw out of Cade.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly what went into that decision.
Yep. All right, moving on to number 7. So I'm going to bring it back to about 2011. So Number 7, if Michigan kept Rich Rod, do you think Michigan would have a Big Ten championship by now, based on the improvement of the team every year, most of his starters coming back in 2011, finally playing his recruits that he had, Denard Robinson returning, and his offense ahead of his time, so Michigan wouldn't have to play catch-up in 2019 and now 2020?
I think it's hard to say he would have a Big Ten championship.
Mm-hmm.
I think the 2016 Michigan team is the best Michigan team.
Oh, yeah.
Probably 2006 with Chad Henne and Mike Hart, Mario Manningham. I think the only problem was Ohio State's been so good the past 5 or 6 years that it's just, I mean, that's really what's been stopping them from winning that Big Ten championship.
Yeah.
Besides, I mean, they're a questionable spot away in 2016 of making the Big Ten championship and most likely beating Wisconsin.
And I'm not saying we should never have fired him, but it's kind of like I wanted to see him at least given another year or two, because think about it, he had playmakers all over the field. His offense that he had in 2011, which he was supposed to come back to, so first of all, he kept improving as a coach, although, albeit it was gradual, he kept improving as a coach year by year. You saw it in the offense, you saw it in the defense, his team, you saw his recruits coming back, you saw all his returning seniors, and right now, we're trying to make the offensive switch that really he kind of had, that West Coast offense, the spread offense that he introduced. So right now, we wouldn't be playing catch-up like 8 years later when we could have had it already developed in his hands in 2011.
Yeah, I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem with that is a lot of teams that are, I mean, if the goal for Michigan is to win the national championship, I think a more pro-style offense, kind of like what Clemson and Alabama and Ohio State run.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what they're going to need to run. It's so hard for a West Coast offense to win because, you know, a lot of those quarterbacks aren't very good in 3rd and 8 or 3rd and 9.
Yeah.
Whereas Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence are completing 80% of their passes on 3rd and long.
Mm-hmm.
But I do agree that, I mean, the offense would be better. We would probably have won more games that we didn't win that we should have won. Michigan State in the past, Iowa at home in 2016, or 2017, whatever year that was. But I'm not sure. It's hard to tell.
And I'm not even like saying we go that far. Like I think we still should have let him go after a certain amount of years. But say we minus the Brady Hoke era, we just keep him up until 2014, and then fire him if he doesn't show up. But like all I'm saying is, obviously this Harbaugh hire was great at the time. No one knew like that he wouldn't really live up to the expectations that he had. But what I'm saying is we should have kept him, Rich Rod, up to like after 2011, 2012, 2013 to see what he could do with his seniors and see if his offense panned out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that fire was probably a little premature.
Yep.
Which is why I'm kind of glad they're leaving. They're letting Harbaugh stay probably a few more years than what a lot of other teams would.
Yeah.
Because it takes a while to completely change a program, to figure out a good coaching staff.
And he's still getting recruits.
A lot of his coaching...
Harbaugh's still getting recruits.
Go ahead.
Yeah, like, they're supposed to get 2 5-star cornerbacks in 2022, Dominique Jackson and Will Johnson, that are visiting Alabama, I think, right now. But they've been pretty hard on Michigan that they really want to go there. His even 2021 recruiting class... top 10, J.J. McCarthy, obviously. A lot of people on that team really want to make a difference. So Harbaugh's still pulling the recruits, and let's see what he does in 2021. But let's go back to what you were about to say.
Yeah, I think he's going to be the coach that gets them to a college football playoff berth in a Big Ten championship. A lot of his, assistant coaches have been hired at other jobs, so he's replacing his coaching staff every other year, it seems like.
Yeah.
Lost in Greg Madison, DJ Durkin, Devin Bush's dad, Devin Bush Sr., I believe, was a big part of the recruiting and the DB's coach, and he's down at Ole Miss, I believe. Just losing all those guys, year in and year out makes it hard to bring in another coach that fits the system well and can coach the players how they want to.
Yep, exactly. That's it. I hope you liked the video. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And thanks to Zach for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. If any of the listeners want to talk about anything or discuss anything, just leave a comment, and I'll go through and read them after this is posted and just respond to you guys and see what you guys have to say. So thanks for having me on, and everyone like and subscribe.
Yep, thanks. See you later, man. This is The Victors Podcast. I'm Jeremy Brown. As always, go Blue, go Michigan, and let's see if we can finally beat Ohio State this year.